welcome to the Fantasy Football News Week 10 edition, live edition again. I am your host, Eric. I welcome you to the Fantasy Football News, and thank you for joining me here. So, as you can see, we're doing another live edition, and I'm going to go over some of the reasons for that right now. So, to do the standard videos that I was doing with the writing, production, editing, putting everything together was generally a day and a half to 2 days of work. I usually started on the writing on Mondays and Tuesdays in my spare time at work, and then usually was all day Wednesday to do the recording and whatnot. And it's a lot, and I like to relax on my days off. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna chill out a little bit. And these live broadcasts are a little bit easier because I kind of do them a little more on the fly. I don't pre-write anything. I am going to, I think, maybe pre-record. I haven't this week, but I think as we move along here for the final weeks of the season, pre-record some comedy sketches and maybe some commercials to insert into the live broadcast. That shouldn't be too tough, shouldn't take too much of my time, and I can make that happen. So I appreciate you, working with me here, and hopefully, it's still an enjoyable broadcast. So with that, on to the scores, and I think we'll start off this week with the, so I don't forget later, because I probably will. I forget things. I do that. Thursday night football, tomorrow night, Thursday night football, here at the home of Rebel Scum. I've got 4 chickens that are defrosted, ready to go on the smoker tomorrow. Just need people to come over and watch the game. I'll have it up on my 75-inch ultra high-definition television. The 4K Amazon broadcast will be available. Plenty of seating for everybody, food for everybody. You are more than welcome. Just let me know that you're coming. I have seats. It is bring your own beer. I don't have beer on hand. I do have some stuff in the liquor cabinet that I'm willing to share. I do not myself imbibe, but would be happy to share what I do have with you. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to have people show up. That would be great if you came over and watched Thursday Night Football with us. This is the penultimate edition of Thursday Night Football. The final edition will be, I believe, December 12th is the final edition. Will be the Seahawks versus 49ers Thursday Night Football edition. And that one I will be doing ribs. My Eric famous smoked ribs. I would say world famous, but I don't think everybody in the world has tried them. If I look back, there's now 8 billion people alive in the world, and I don't think I've made that many ribs. I've made a lot of ribs, but not enough to feed 8 billion people. So I can't say world famous, but Eric famous, Eric's house famous, maybe even block famous, or my friend circle famous. But so that one will be ribs. This one, smoked chickens. 4 whole smoked chickens will be going on the grill. Excuse me, I'm a little gruffy today. We'll be going on the grill tomorrow for Thursday Night Football, so I look forward to seeing you all here. If you need directions, text me, message me on the Facebook pages, email me. You should have my email address, or get a hold of Frazier. Frazier has the information as well. You are more than welcome to attend. I appreciate everybody coming over and enjoying the game and my hospitality. And with that now, on to the scores. And I'm going to turn, sounds like I'm getting a little bit of top out there. I'm going to turn that gain down just a skosh, and maybe that'll help out with that. On to the scores. Dang, I keep saying that and not doing it, right? Hey, let us transition to... Ooh, I better change that before I transition. I'm getting smoother at this, but I want to make sure I'm on the right window before I transition. So on to the scores. This week we are starting with the RSO League. So boom, there we are. Hey, look at me. I'm down in the corner. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing to the commissioner. No, I did not lose to the commissioner, but we'll get there. This first matchup is the fantasy football team versus Show Me Your Kittles. The fantasy football team running away with this one, 135.25 to 103.35, a 32-point drubbing of Show Me Your Kittles, who many thought might be the worst team in the league, but many now know different. We have QB Trevor Lawrence with 27.55 points versus Daniel Jones with 24.25 points. Two quarterbacks that I don't think anybody had on their radar to be starters this deep in the season. But amazingly, the Giants, a team that has surprised everybody, and the Jaguars doing what Jaguars do. However, Trevor performing above standards. Ken Walker over here on the Show Me Your Kittles side had an off week. It was a rough week in Munich for the Seahawks as they faced off against a resurgent Buccaneers run defense. I think the Buccaneers got back like four players, like four key players on their defense, and that's why they were a little stouter than I think many people expected them to be. And in addition to that, Seattle had to travel a whole bunch more miles than Tampa Bay did to get to Munich, and I think Seattle traditionally, at least in the past, and I think it's went away some, in the past has had some problems traveling to those early start games. Jonathan Taylor came out with a 23.3 score, which I think is a better performance than we've seen for a lot of the season, which was matched by Saquon Barkley with 22.5 on the other side. I think you're going to see here Christian Kirk was a big help with 105 receiving yards on 9 receptions with 2 TDs. And then 11 points from a Tennessee defense was no hurt either, even though that was almost matched by Robbie Gould's San Francisco kicker. But ultimately, the fantasy football team walks away with this one. I believe the fantasy football team next week will be matching up with, where are they? The Ballhawks, while Show Me Your Kittles will be facing off against Timinators. So look forward to those matchups next week. Our next matchup, Randall Access Memories. Speaking of Timinators, there they are. This matchup, Randall Access Memories handily won 103.80 to 87.80. That's a 16-point win for Randall Access Memories. Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things with a 24.9-point effort in a loss in Minnesota, which many were calling the game of the season. That was an absolutely silly finish. That was crazy stuff going on there in Buffalo. If you caught the last, I'd say, 5 minutes of that game, you saw some craziness going on. That was good stuff. Justin Herbert. Let's talk about Justin Herbert for a minute. So Justin Herbert has had some issues. I took him in another league fairly early. I believe he was my number 1 pick. It's a dual quarterback league, so quarterbacks went early. Josh Allen was the number 1 pick. I had the number 2 pick. I took Justin Herbert. And he has not lived up to number 2 pick status. He's done okay, but he has not done Justin Herbert things as he did last year. 16 points is a subpar effort at the quarterback position, and especially for Justin Herbert. We can see Dalvin Cook absolutely blasted off with 22.10, Josh Jacobs with 19.6. A subpar effort from the wide receiver core here with 4.3 and 4.9. And average efforts down the line. Actually, 11.3 from a tight end isn't terrible. I mean, we know what kind of scores tight ends can put up. DeAndre Swift with 7.7, Leonard Fournette. Oh, here we go. Devontae Adams, who showed some frustration with his Raiders teammates, and people wondering why why the Raiders coach has not been fired, and rumor has it because the Raiders cannot afford to fire him, in that they cannot afford to hire somebody else. A.J. Brown, who should have absolutely been the backbreaker on that one, could have easily scored the 16 points needed for Timinators to win, instead scores 1.2 points in Philadelphia's loss. The Commanders looked decent in that game, and they absolutely just played Philly hard. And as we all know, division games are played, it seems, harder than regular games. That's just how it works. Up next for Randall Access Memories, we have Rebel Scum. They will be facing me next week. And Timinators will be taking on Show Me Your Kittles. Our next matchup, Mongo Mentality versus Team Sesh. And Team Sesh wins this one, 125.45 to 96.10, on the back of Patrick Mahomes with 42.45 points. Mongo Mentality started Marcus Mariota, I believe, because Lamar Jackson was on bye week, and his perennial workhorse Joe Mixon also on bye. Where did he have any points stashed away? Aaron Jones with 22 points stashed away on the bench could have made a difference there. Definitely could have made a difference there. But yeah, 42.45 points. Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things. That's par for the course there in Kansas City, as we've seen. Jamal Williams, Nick Chubb, running back core had average days. Wide receiver core, Mike Evans did not really show up in the Seattle game. Stephon Diggs, however, did show up in Buffalo. Not quite as much as another man that we'll probably talk about here in a moment. Jerry Jeudy, I have him in the other league, went out early with an injury, so that big goose egg didn't hurt, apparently. Had he put, who do we got down here? Paris Campbell could have put another 17 points in that slot, but I mean, who honestly, who's going to start Paris Campbell over Jerry Jeudy? The only reason you would is if you had foreknowledge that Jerry Jeudy was going to get hurt. Nobody has that. Nobody has foreknowledge of those types of injuries happening. 13.9 points from Tyler Bass, the Buffalo kicker. That is an excellent effort. And so Team Sesh walks away with this one. And Team Sesh will be moving on to face Stars and Stripes next week, while Mongo Mentality will take on Saints for Life. Our next matchup is Saints for Life and the Ballhawks. The Ballhawks win this one, 108.15 to the Saints for Life 89. Jimmy Garoppolo starting. Wow. Matthew Stafford on bye, which, I mean, Matthew Stafford has not had the greatest week, but here's Kirk Cousins sitting on your bench with 21 points. Kirk Cousins is an enigma. He's much like a Garoppolo. I guess, given the choice between a Garoppolo or a Cousins, what are you going to do there? You don't know what you're going to get. Minnesota is absolutely a great team. They're doing great things, but you don't put Kirk Cousins in the great quarterback conversations. He's just a guy that sometimes gets the job done and sometimes F's the job up, for lack of a better term. Over on this side, though, we do have Tua Tagovailoa with 32.25 points. The Ballhawks finally giving in to the pressure and starting Tua over Aaron Rodgers, or Aaron Rodgers. If you know the skit, you know the skit. Which was a wise decision, even though Aaron finally broke out of his slump and won a game. What else do we have sitting over here? Brian Robinson with 14 on the bench. What did Saints for Life have that could have made? Oh, look, Tony Pollard, James Conner. Look at that's 42.4 points just sitting on the bench, and instead starting out these 19, 20 points just up there in the RB core. So Travis Etienne and Dameon Pierce over James Conner and Tony Pollard cost Amy the win. Maybe. Yeah, I think those two would have pulled the win out there. Saints for Life will be moving on to take on Mongo Mentality next week, and the Ballhawks will face off against the Fantasy Football Team. Our last matchup, Rebel Scum versus Stars and Stripes. In a match watched by many, Stars and Stripes was thought to be the clear favorite, and there was maybe a little subtext going on in this game, in that Rebel Scum pundits and Rebel Scum fans have been calling for the head of the commissioner, who also happens to be the owner of Stars and Stripes, for the banning of tight end Taysom Hill, who was on Rebel Scum's roster at the time of that ban. Many think that the possibility of the fantasy football gods tweaking the score of this game in favor of Rebel Scum was something that may have happened simply to send a message to the commissioner. We here at the Fantasy Football News, we're impartial. We make no comment on whether or not the said fantasy football gods exist. But, the results do speak for themselves, as Rebel Scum wins this one 130.75 to 125.15 in what was a nail-biter, as Jalen Hurts and Philadelphia did not play until Monday night, and Mike was only trailing by the 32 points or so, which Jalen Hurts is capable of putting up. Projections at one point early in the game had Stars and Stripes winning that one. Actually, he was trailing by less than that, because I also had, Rebel Scum also had Miles Sanders on to go on Monday night. So it was a kind of a horse race. So I was pleading for them to hand the ball to Miles, and Stars and Stripes was like, no, you need to pass the ball. You need to pass the ball and rush for the TD yourself, and which he did. Jalen did run in for one TD, but in the end it was not enough, as Rebel Scum wins this one on the back of Justin Fields, who he pulled up off of IR and who has been an absolutely phenomenal fantasy quarterback in the last in the week since maybe week 6 or 7. Finally, a decent result from the running back core in 15 and 16 points, so putting up, what do we got, 32 points there. Little wanting at wide receiver, Zay Jones, who's starting him. Me, apparently, that's who's starting him, and Brandon Cooks. Cole Kmet at tight end with a 21-point effort was absolutely astonishing. That's great production there. And my flex slot, obviously, Miles Sanders. I left 25.95 points on the bench with Geno Smith, but no loss as Justin put up the 45 mark. Nothing else really to speak of on my bench. Happy with the result there, as Rebel Scum wins this one. Rebel Scum will be taking on Randall Access Memories next week, while Stars and Stripes takes on Team Sesh. That will do it this week for the Reality Sports Online Outcast League. We thank you for listening. If you are going to tune out now, again, thank you. Hope you show up for Thursday Night Football. We move on now to our CTRAN, which it's not. I shouldn't really brand it. It's not a branded league, and it is not endorsed by CTRAN. The Operations Supervisor League, even though we include people that are not necessarily operations supervisors, but people at the supervisor level of the organization where most of us work. Our first matchup, and I believe most important matchup, Garbage Time versus Rebel Scum. Oh, wait, you know what? It's too late now. I was going to go back to the standings for RSO, but we're past that. They've already tuned. You guys have already tuned out, so we're on. We've moved on. Garbage Time. I don't know how they win this one. This was an I do. I woke up Sunday morning to watch the game. I did not wake up at 6:30 to watch the game because I had just got off at 1:15 the night before. So, and when I looked at my starters, I'm like, oh crap! I'm starting 3 Seahawks with Geno, Kenneth, and Tyler Lockett. And so then, from then, it was like, oh boy, I hope the Seahawks have a really great game. And guess what? They did not. I mean, the second half of that game was great. And had they played the first half like they played the second half, the Seahawks would easily have won that game. But they did not, and they did not. Garbage Time wins this one on the back of Tua with 29.4 points. And down here, Christian Kirk with 27.5 points. and AA Ron with 26.86 points. Rebel Scum loses this one thanks to an injury to Jerry Jeudy with 0.0 points, and Mike Evans with a weak 7.9, and Deontay Johnson with 8.3. Had I pulled in Jeff Wilson Jr. and Devin Singletary in there and moved some stuff around, I probably could have won that one, but I did not, and I did not. Moving on to Team Scott versus Team 1051. Team 1051 pulls out a huge blowout in this one, 148.52 to 72.28. Thank you to the timely decision by Team Scott to start a Ramondre Stevenson, who was on bye, and an Ezekiel Elliott, who put up 0 fantasy points on a 0 projection, thanks in large part to the fact that Ezekiel Elliott was, I believe, out. Where's my projections? Here. Go away. Where are we at? I think he was. Did he sit out? What was it? Yeah. So he was inactive with a knee injury. So there's your information on Zeke. So 0 points there from Zeke, 0 from Ramondre on bye, 0 from Mike Williams, who also was out with injury, and 0 from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So those 1, 2, 3, 4 goose eggs gave KC the easy win in this one, as Team Scott absolutely drops the ball. But what are you going to do? That's sometimes how the bow breaks. On Team 1051's plus side, though, we have the phenom, Justin Jefferson, who many believe is the best wide receiver in the league at the moment, with 30.8 points, and CeeDee Lamb, who is also in contention, with 33 points. Daniel Jones down here with 23.7, and Jared Goff backing him up with 16.8. KC left absolutely nothing on the bench, started the best ball that he could possibly have started this week, and it shows in that final score. That leaves him 4th in the North Division and moves Team Scott to 3rd in the South Division at 5-5. There's still a possibility for some movement in and out of the playoffs there, and if I remember, which I hope I do, we may get to the standings here at the end of this. Moving along, Stars and Stripes versus Black Ops MC. Black Ops MC managed to lose this one 110.78 to 133.08. Even though Justin Fields managed that insanely good 46.88 score, Jonathan Taylor was resurgent with 25.3, and Josh Jacobs put up 19.6. However, the rest of the roster combined for a measly, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, 15, 16, maybe 20 points, 25 points off of the rest of the roster. That just is not going to get it done against production like we see over on the other side of the ball from Stars and Stripes, who has Jalen Hurts with 25.8, Saquon Barkley with 23. Where is I'm trying to pull up my roster stuff because I forgot to give you guys some other information. In the last matchup, Rebel Scum will be taking on Team 51 next week, and Garbage Time will be taking on Stars and Stripes. Team Scott will be taking on Generic Football Team, while Team 1051 will be facing off against Rebel Scum. So now back to this matchup. Stars and Stripes wins at 133.08 to 110.78. Black Ops MC did not leave enough points on the bench to win this one, so too bad for them. Black Ops MC just unable to really get anything going this season. Had a rough start with, I believe, Tua. They started off with Tua at quarterback, which quickly went south. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they had somebody else. No, maybe Corey had Tua. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because, as you can see here, Taysom Hill with his 10th of a point. Taysom Hill with his 10th of a point does not help the effort. Black Ops MC just can't get anything to happen. Maybe next year, Black Ops MC, as Stars and Stripes, moves to 2nd in the North Division, while Black Ops MC is steady at 5th in the North Division. Stars and Stripes will face off against Garbage Time, while Black Ops MC will be taking on, where'd they go? Don't Remember Didn't Happen. Speaking of Don't Remember Didn't Happen, they had a match this week against the Sandlot Turf Burns. Don't Remember Didn't Happen wins this one 124.88 to 102.98, and that 102.98 score was good enough to win this week's $5 contest. It was Century Week, and that was the team that was scored closest to 100, and it wasn't without going over. It was just closest to 100, and that was 102.98. He had that pretty much wrapped up on Sunday. There was still the chance that Stars and Stripes could win it, as they were under 100, but he still had Jalen Hurts to go, and I don't think he wanted to win it. He wanted to stay in contention. Corey has been on a tear, has moved into 7-3-0 to second in the South Division. Rides Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins, so too steady. Again, very weird that we saw that quarterback duo, Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins, together there. 23.1 from A.A. Ron Jones, 17.6 and 17.1 from Amon-Ra St. Brown and Travis Kelce. So just great production pretty much across the board. Nothing good from Cooper Kupp, and it seems like it's possible his season is over. He is expected to have surgery on what is believed to be a high ankle sprain or strain that may put him out 4 to 6 weeks, but with the way the Rams season is going, it is likely that will sideline him for the remainder of the season. Unfortunate for Don't Remember Didn't Happen. Can't say that I am too sad that a trade package I tried to put together for Cooper Kupp early in the season, or just a few weeks ago, actually did not work. Darn. Derek Carr, continuing to disappoint, manages a 22.42-point effort with Devontae Adams being his favorite target with 24.1 points. 9.06 points from Andy Dalton isn't going to get it done when you have 17 points sitting on your bench at Russell Wilson, and James Conner with 22.1 points could have put this one in the Sandlot Turf Burns pocket. Instead, Corey rides to the win, and the Sandlot Turf Burns gets a crisp, shiny Lincoln for their effort. The Sandlot Turf Burns, or Don't Remember Didn't Happen, let's start with that one. We'll move to see Black Ops MC next week, while the Sandlot Turf Burns will take on the 12th Man Mafia. Speaking of the 12th Man Mafia, they hosted the Generic Football team this week, and in this one, we had a very close game. However, Randy and the Generic Football team walk away with it and move to 9-1 in the first place in the South Division. And this is also 9 wins in a row for the Generic Football team. The single loss coming all the way back in Week 1, wherein I was text messaged by Randy and him saying, I hate my team, this stinks. Or no, it was just I hate my team. I believe he has changed his mind on that front. Riding Kenny Pickett with 19 points and Patrick Mahomes with a near 40-point effort to the win in this one. 12th Man Mafia, 21.7 points from Mariota, 22.1 from Josh Allen. Dak Prescott with 25 could have helped out just a smidge, a skosh, as they say, but just not enough to do anything. The rest of her bench on bye, as we see there. So there really was nothing. I mean, she put up almost the best ball she could have. 6.2, it's a wide receiver slot. Nope, so Pacheco could not have started in there. Let's see, do we have a flex? Yeah, she could have, well, I'm trying to see if there's a way she could have finagled that 6.2 point. At any rate, I don't think it was quite enough to get the job done, unfortunately for 12th Man Mafia, who is 3-7-0 and 4th in the South Division. Generic Football team 12th Man Mafia will take on the Sandlot Turf Burns, while Generic Football team will take on Team Scott. That is going to do it this week for the Ops Soup League. Now, many of you, or I shouldn't say many of you, two of you, three of you know that there is a new league that I am trying out experimentally on the Sleeper app. It is the Orwa Late Season League, and I'm going to speak briefly on that. This league is a 6-team league with a roster makeup of, what did I put in there? Quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 triple flex, and then 2 wide receiver tight end flex, and then a kicker and a defensive slot. We have not played any games. It's going to be a 4-week season, and then 4 teams will move to the playoffs, and then 2 teams will be eliminated in week 1, which is week 15 of the playoffs, and then the championship will be decided in a 2-week playoff match in week 16 and 17. So as we can see here, I am Team Rebel Scum versus Team Rodgelock 72 here in week 11. The generic football team will be taking on Team AJ Harden PDX 2, and Team Seawish 77 will be taking on Team Tim Frazier. So good luck to those teams. We will be covering this team in the future Fantasy Football News broadcasts as well. So remember to stick around to the end if you would like to hear news about this one as well. I will keep this one at the end, as it is an experimental and kind of odd end of season league, late season league. So we'll keep that at the end, so nobody has to suffer through it to watch the rest of it. So that, my friends, is the Fantasy Football News. I appreciate you. I gotta go back. Stop playing the thing. All right. That is the Fantasy Football News, everybody. Thank you for watching. It is appreciated. Again, Thursday night football here at my place tomorrow night. Smoked chicken on the menu. BYOB. Let me know if you're gonna come. There's plenty of food for everybody, so you can RSVP as late as 4:00 tomorrow. Doors generally open around 4:30. You can start showing up. If you want to come over earlier just to talk football, that's fine too. I don't mind. You just might catch me moving stuff around and getting things set up, but that's okay. I can still talk. I can talk and move furniture at the same time. No problemo. But thank you for watching the Fantasy Football News Week 10 Live Edition. I am your host, Eric, and as always, we here at Fantasy Football News are better than you.